I'm working on honing my Microsoft Teams meeting hosting skills. Ever important.
Hey, Peter, this is Lewis. I had a request from my colleagues if this could be recorded and shared. I don't know how to do that on here. Do you?
Yes, I'm happy that you asked, Lewis.
Oh, you already are recording it. I see that now.
Yes, I just
Cool.
figured that out. So I had a similar request, a couple of DSMs whose teams are otherwise engaged or obligated asked that I record it and send it out. So
Cool. Yeah, if you can send me that link after the end too, I'll share it with the FLUKE side. Thanks a lot.
Will do. I'm 99% sure that I'm doing it correctly. So as long as I am, I think that,
I believe you are, because under the more actions it says stop recording. So
okay, good.
Yeah, cool.
So I'm gonna wait another minute, gang, and then we'll get started. But we're expecting a good group here, so I want to give everybody a chance to jump on.
Peter, good morning. Peter, good morning. Lee Cohen is on.
Hi, Lee. I saw that.
Yeah, had to get my breakfast.
What do we got going this morning? Some porridge?
No, bagels and lox and cream cheese.
Ooh, my favorite. Have you ever heard of Jaime's and Murray's, Lee?
Sure.
I grew up probably half a mile from those two places.
Sure. I used to work at Govberg Jewelers across the street.
That's right. I went to high school with Jen Govberg.
Oh boy.
Small world.
Worked with, I don't remember which one her dad was. Was it Danny or Jeffrey? I don't know.
I don't either. They're in Suburban Square now.
Yeah.
So we're at 10 o'clock. Maybe give it another minute again for folks to trickle in here. See if we can full screen this. I trust everybody can see my screen in the presentation here. I want to thank everybody for giving us some time. I imagine that your weeks have been just as wild and busy as ours. So thanks for giving us 30 minutes here on your Friday morning. Definitely want to thank the Grainger Safety Group in the Mid-Atlantic, Meg, Matt, Jackson, and Aaron for inviting us to host this call. The purpose of the call is to give everybody an idea of how to sell FLUKE, where to sell FLUKE, who to sell FLUKE to, in general, in terms of keeping your customers up and running. But obviously, we are going to focus on COVID-19 applications, a lot of the questions we've been getting. Before we dive into that, does Matt or Meg or Aaron, maybe Matt, do you want to say a little bit of an introduction in terms of kind of the Grainger side of things?
Yeah, absolutely, Pete. Again, thank you for being able to host this, and thank you for everyone to be able to jump on the call. Meg, Aaron, and myself really wanted to bring LineDrive into this ever-changing climate of the COVID-19 with FLUKE. We've been getting a lot of customers and a lot of traction with these cameras everywhere across the country. These are are helping customers identify people who have that 100.4 degree temperature. We partnered with LineDrive because they're a trusted source for us, and they just really know our Grainger side, especially Peter, who's a former Grainger person himself. So without further ado, Pete, thank you again, and take it away.
Yeah, thanks for having us again. So I just outlined the purpose a little bit. Here's a little bit of the process of what we're going to go on here. So we're going to do introductions. We're going to talk a little bit about the FLUKE and LineDrive teams. Like I said, we're going to talk about general FLUKE applications. Now more than ever, your customers are being asked to keep their facilities up and running with limited resources and limited staff. So we are going to talk about kind of the general way that FLUKE and Grainger are able to partner to help that happen. And then, of course, we're going to talk about COVID-19 I'm going to play this little video as I talk through what we're going to say. There's going to be a disclaimer. We certainly want to clear up any misconceptions that exist. There's some confusion around some things. So we are going to talk about capabilities, of course. We're going to answer any inventory questions that exist, and definitely want to give you guys the opportunity to ask questions as you have them. So I'm going to do my very best to pause and give you folks chances to ask questions specific to you and what you're seeing in your customers. But also I want you to have the invitation to interject as you have questions. So that's the general process. By the end, guys, I'm just hoping that you guys have a clear picture of how to talk to your customers about this particular application, about FLUKE, and you feel confident in doing so. Obviously, we're there as a resource if you need us. To that end, if you don't already have the contact information of your FLUKE or LineDrive person, they are likely on this slide here. So feel free to take a picture of this. I'll move this in case it's hindering anybody's view. I'm also going to send this presentation out, guys, and the recording to Matt, so that Matt, Aaron, and Meg can forward it along to you folks. But as you have questions related to anything LineDrive or FLUKE can help you with, this is going to be your roster, I think, for most of the folks on this call. As far as who you're going to hear from today, I'm going to do a lot of the talking. Lewis Nelson at the top left there is a sales engineer and a great partner for us. He's in the DC metro market, covers the state of Maryland, Delaware, and South Jersey. So he'll be helping me a lot with the more technical stuff. And I believe that Lewis's boss, Brian Pickard, the regional sales manager for the Northeast, might also be on the call and offer some thoughts.
Peter, I am on the call if needed. Happy to hop in.
Thanks, Brian. So I'm going to start with that general FLUKE applications and how we can help your customers. Real quick, wanted to touch on the registration program. If you're not familiar with it, I'm going to give you the total high-level 30,000-foot view of what it is. This is for opportunities that you bring to us. You identify a customer with a need. If we think that that need will be solved by a problem or by a FLUKE tool that is of $10,000 MSRP or greater, or $5,000 MSRP on a thermal imaging camera, then please reach out to us. There's a link right here that you might be able to see. The LineDrive team, the FLUKE team, happy to do the registration for you. You can access it yourself as well. Basically, what this does is it gives you cost support on opportunities that you bring to us. Again, please note the thresholds that exist, 10,000 MSRP for all FLUKE products, and then 5,000 MSRP for thermal imaging category. This is a sort of good faith flag in the ground for you Grainger folks, so that you're not going to lose in the 11th hour if they decide to shop it out, which I know that none of your customers would ever do because of your strong relationships. But again, it's a good faith partnership gesture from FLUKE to Grainger. So definitely kind of take note of that for the coming months and the future. And then I just wanted to touch briefly on keeping your world up and running. It's the slogan for FLUKE, and I think it's a good one. So now more than ever, customers are being asked, like I said, to do more with less. As we know, a lot of people are working graveyard shifts. When we think about the manufacturing, government, healthcare, and even the commercial segment, all of these institutions have limited resources and limited staff. And downtime, frankly, is not an option. While businesses are closing, I imagine that the last to close are going to be our healthcare facilities and some of our government institutions. When we think about the manufacturing segment and we think about pharmaceuticals and food, pulp and paper, we can't go without these manufacturing facilities. So it's very important that they stay up and running and that they don't have downtime. So please think of FLUKE and be out there having maintenance conversations with your customers. I'm going to pause there before we get into COVID-19 stuff. Does anybody from FLUKE or Grainger have any questions thus far? Cool. again, don't hesitate to interject if you think of anything. So, quick disclaimer about COVID-19. It goes without saying, we would think, but definitely want to say it, that FLUKE does not manufacture any of their tooling for medical applications, of course, and FLUKE would certainly never market thermal imagers or infrared thermometers as diagnostic tools or for use to determine internal human body temperature. That is not the intended application for which they are manufactured. However, if customers, and there's a lot of demand, as Matt mentioned at the top, if customers are inquiring and purchasing our tools for this intended application, we are very inclined to support them in any way we can and help them make the most informed decisions. So I didn't know if anybody from FLUKE in particular had anything to add.
Yeah, this is Lewis. I will add just a little bit to it. Is you're not going to see us from the FLUKE side. We're not going to have any marketing materials or application notes. Even the video that Peter showed in the beginning, we're not going to spread that out there, even though it does show a FLUKE product. But that being said, customers are buying it, like Peter said, and we want to be there to support them with that application, to teach them how to use the products correctly. So the number one message I'd like to get out there is if your customers are interested in this product and they buy it for this application, I highly recommend you link them up with the FLUKE sales engineer to at least give them some basic knowledge and training about how the product works.
Thank you. I wanted to, Lewis, I don't know if you'd feel comfortable diving in here, but I think that it's important. A lot of the questions I've been getting in the past couple weeks, I think there's a little bit of a gray area between what an infrared thermometer is, a non-contact thermometer, and a thermal imager. The images, I think, will help, as well as the descriptions, but it's not super technical. But Lewis, if you wouldn't mind offering a little bit of
Sure. Yeah. If you want, I can take us through these next slides here.
Yeah, that's perfect.
All right, great. So you're going to see on this slide here, and we're going to go into more detail in the follow-up. I'm not going to go slide by slide and teach you about all of our products. I think the important thing to know is on the left side, you see these infrared thermometers. These are typically press a trigger, it fires a laser, and it takes a spot temperature, and it's based off of a distance to spot ratio. So the further away you are, the larger area you're getting an average temperature range of. So in this application, obviously being closer is more important, hitting everybody the same exact way. So if you choose forehead, it's not going to match their internal body temperature. It's important to know that. But if you did that the same exact way for everybody, you would see a temperature change. And that's really what these are about. It's not about exact temperatures. It's about temperature change. On the right side, and on the left side too, these are $500 and under solutions. The right side, though, thermal imagers, you're actually seeing the thermal image on the camera. Every pixel on that screen is a temperature reading. It's really designed for more advanced, like preventative maintenance, predictive maintenance, electrical panels, motors and drives. The one advantage I would say in this application is those cameras do have a high temperature cursor. And it does have another feature called color alarm. So after you've baselined what temperatures you're concerned about, you could set the camera up to basically only show you a thermal picture if it's above a certain temperature. And if somebody were to pause in front of that camera and look directly into it without eyeglasses on, that's important, you might be able to quickly see their high temperature, which is most likely going to be at their tear duct. That's going to be the temperature that most closely resembles their internal body temperature. The next slides, we'll go through them, and they're really for your reference. This is the product line that we have. I went through and found the Grainger web price where I could. If I couldn't, I put in the MSRP. And then I also put in your approximate inventory as of yesterday morning. These tools are going fast. So that FLUKE lead time on the bottom, kind of vital you take a look at that. That 1 week you're seeing there is probably already changed because we are getting orders for these, by the hundreds. And so as soon as our inventory in Everett, Washington is depleted, you're looking at probably another 9 or 10 week lead time. So pay close attention to that. And go ahead and hit the next one too. I didn't talk much about these, but this is like in between stage between the IR temperature and the actual thermal imaging cameras. So we call these our visual IR thermometers. Very similar to, technology-wise, very similar to the IR thermometer in that it's that laser distance to spot ratio. You're getting the average temperature, but it does show you a picture as well. And on most of these, it can mark the high temperature on there, but it's just going to put a cursor there. You'd still have to move the middle over to that and do everything the same way as you would with the IR thermometers. And we say that as it's not radiometric. So every pixel is not a temperature reading like it is on the thermal imagery cameras. But if this is a technology they want, maybe they want the cheaper one, we're all out. They could move up to this, but as you see, there's only 12 of the IRC 110s, and you're at a 12-week lead time after that. So there's not a lot of option there if they want an immediate solution. Next slide. And these are the FLUKE infrared, the 59 Max. You can see the quantities there. And we have, so on the FLUKE side, there on these IR thermometers, you're looking at a 59, a 62, and a 64. So I put the 62 and 64 on the next slide. What I like about these is that there's application for them to use these after this is all over too. So these are tools that are very common in the factory. They're very common for facility maintenance teams and electricians. So there's value for them to have these. These are very popular sellers, but once again, take a look at the quantities. Before we go to the next slide, or actually one more slide is the FLUKE visual thermometer, so we'll go to that one too. And you can see the actual price points. So are there any questions on IR thermometers or visual IR at this point? And feel free to use the chat dialogue on here too if you don't want to speak. Okay, you can keep doing that as we move forward, but go to the next slide. This is when now you're getting a little bit more advanced, the thermal imagery lineup. As you look at these slides here, what you're going to see is obviously a higher price point, but also a lot more utility for them. You know, if they decide that they want to keep this tool and use it for preventative maintenance, electrical tests, these are our professional thermal imagery cameras. If I were recommending a camera for someone who really wanted this application and they have the funding, the TIX over to the right is by far the best option because you can mount it on a tripod. It has a very large viewing screen. All of these cameras can have a high temperature cursor and color alarm so they can quickly screen people. There are some settings on the camera that I still believe they would want to talk to a FLUKE sales engineer because it's not the type of camera that an inexperienced user can just pick up and start using and get the results they're expecting. So just communicate that clearly. If they say that this is the solution they want, they really should. If they're not an experienced thermal imager user, they're not level 1 certified, they're probably going to want to talk to us to ensure they understand how to do the application. Okay. And then as you see the inventories there, as you see the approximate Grainger inventories, they're almost all out at Grainger except for the PTI 120. And you can see most of those cameras have a 10-week lead time with the exception of that TIS 60 Plus. And then on the next slide, this is what I can gather from your Grainger inventory. These cameras are discontinued at FLUKE. However, they're still very good. They operate much like the previous slide. The advantage is you have them in stock, available to ship. So the quantities are low. That TIX 560, I believe, I don't even know if that one's going to be there by the time this call's done. I think one of my colleagues who had worked on placing a PO, and that's probably going to be gone, which is a shame because that deal was amazing.
Actually, I factored that in. So taking that, it was 3 and now it's 1. So I believe there is one left, unless I'm mistaken, and you're talking about a different deal. If I could just interject real quick here, a couple things that I would say. This stuff, guys, is Grainger value. This is where you are uniquely positioned to win. Nobody else out there, and FLUKE can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty confident nobody else out there is sitting on any inventory at all. And the fact that you have 25 some odd cameras, gives you that unique market position. So as you have customers that reach out, you will be able to support them on these models, at least for the immediate future until this stock is depleted. The other thing that I would add is, obviously, as I said earlier at the top, These, of course, are not manufactured for any sort of human body temperature screening. They are in fact manufactured for tons of other applications and maintenance applications and production applications. So when customers invest right now because there's a specific need related to the safety of their workforce, they're not investing and then they're going to throw it away in 3-6 months. This is a tool that they can use and they can hand off to their production department or maintenance department, and will continue to provide value to them for months and years in the future.
Yeah, and I think the last slide is just kind of a good, better, best. Some bullets with some models up top, and I guess I just want to continually stress that the thermal imagery cameras and the IR thermometers, if they're using it to determine if somebody has a fever, step number one to realize is these will analyze skin temperature, surface temperature. Your surface temperature of the skin is not the same as your internal body temperature. So if they're looking for 104 degrees with these cameras on the surface of somebody's skin, that person's probably already dead. So and I joke, but I mean, it's probably every camera, depending on if they're configured properly, right? There's emissivity settings within the camera that need to be set correctly. But the real trick is these cameras are designed to look for temperature anomalies. They're meant to have a baseline temperature of something and then see that it's hotter. It's meant to see 5 things next to each other and you pick out which one's different. So process is very important if they're going to use this for any type of medical application. And so that's the message. Number one, FLUKE did not design these for medical application. Step 2, if you're going to do it for medical application, there's a few things that you have to do correctly to be effective. And so that's why I think it's super important to link them up with us. And Peter can, or you have this on the earlier slide, you have who your sales engineer is, but Peter obviously and Patrick Stauffer, anyone from LineDrive can actually guide you to the correct FLUKE sales engineer to provide that conversation to your customers. That's all I had, Peter, so I'm going to turn it back over to you.
No, that's fantastic. I would, again, just emphasize exactly like Lewis said. If your customers are interested and they're asking questions about this and they're considering making a purchase of this to use it in this application, it is imperative that you reach out to us so that we can essentially help them do that as effectively as possible. I want to give people an opportunity to ask questions. I'm going to pause for a long period of time here in case people think of questions or work up the courage if they have them. So please don't hesitate to speak up.
Peter, this is Lewis again. I'm sorry. While I have this audience, I'd also love to hear what you're seeing out there in the marketplace. Are your hospitals or military or government customers contacting you? Are you hearing about factories shutting down? I'd love to know just what you're seeing out there and what type of problems people are coming to you with. I personally this week have been inundated with IR technologies. So I'm just wondering if you're hearing the same thing out there.
If nobody has any questions, guys, I just want to thank everybody for the time. You know how to contact each of us. If you don't have your LineDriver's information, feel free to reach out to me. I can get it to you. And like I said, I'm going to stop recording here in a minute, and I'll send out the recording to Matt so he can forward it along to some Grainger folks. Again, really appreciate everyone's time. It looks like we have something in the chat here. Hopefully I haven't been ignoring questions. Some of my customers are saying that they are being mandated to have these in place, specifically Ohio. So really good point. I actually meant to mention that. So the governor of Ohio, I believe his name is Mike DeWine, is requiring, I guess, put out a press release that they want all of their businesses to be taking the temperature of employees before they come to work. I don't know if that's going to continue and happen in other states, but certainly happen in Ohio, and hence the demand for this type of solution. Thank you, Don. Yeah, guys, I'm going to let it. Oops, Nick Fisher, can you send these items via email to us? Yes, by all means. Like I said, I'm going to email this stuff to Matt Jackson and let him send it out, if that's okay with you, Matt.
Yes, sir.
Cool. Yeah, thanks everybody for joining. Don't hesitate to reach out to any of us for questions offline, and stay well. Talk to you soon.